They should really investigate all of this. They should bring in the people who were responsible. Somebody knows who was there using the auto pen. Should bring him in. The FBI should interrogate him, and then they should say this: what you did was illegal. You did not have the president's permission to pardon that person, so you broke a federal law. Do you want to tell us who the others are, or do you want to go to jail? And they could find out very easily all the people that were involved, and then they should revoke all of those pardons. It's going to be very interesting, and I'm sure there are conservative groups watching. They're watching every single one of these pardons or reprieves or whatever classification they used. And if any of them commit crimes, and they will, they'll be, as the left says, pounds, and they'll find out who did it. And it's just, I don't think we're ever going to learn how awful the last 4 years have been.
Victor Davis Hanson exposes a ruling class that operates above the law. Secret pardons signed without authority, millions of migrants poured into the country in open defiance of the law, and bureaucrats who no longer even pretend to be competent. The people see it. They know the courts, the agencies, the so-called guardians of order are hollow. And so they withdraw, pulling their children out of schools, refusing to trust government systems, quietly building parallel lives outside the collapsing framework. Victor Davis Hanson cuts through the noise. Once trust is lost, restoring it is almost impossible. And when the system finally breaks, it will not be polite, and it will not be controlled.
Poor Tom Holman, every time he's on TV, he'll go anywhere. He'll talk to any left-wing group. He's fearless. But he has the same struggle to convince these people that you left-wing people let in somewhere between 8 and 12 million people against the law. You broke the law. You broke the law. They're hurting people. They're costing us billions of dollars in health care and legal care and educational care and housing care and food care, and you don't care. And now we're trying to do the right thing and enforce the law and make sure these people go back to their homes and try it again legally. And it's hysteria. It's hysteria, but they have a tough job with all of this. It's very easy, as I said, to have a revolution, but a counter-revolution to go back to normality, it's like trying to put the horse back into the barn. What we're seeing here, people don't trust the government. They don't trust the bureau. And I define the government as a bureaucracy, or they just don't believe they're competent. They don't think the judges are competent. They don't think the DAs are competent. They don't think the bureaucrats are competent. They don't think the schools are competent. And you're seeing a lot of people just disconnect. It's kind of a monastery of the mind. I'm not going to put my kid in that school. I'm not going to go to that bureaucracy. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? So that was really a dirty thing to say when he said, you're disappearing them. Because, as he tried to say, we're just following the same things that Obama did and that Biden did. And give us a name and we will tell you where they are. Just give us a name and we will show you on our computer where that person was apprehended, where he is now, where he will be. And they don't, and then that was it. There's a good story. There's been a couple of news accounts about who are the people voting for Mamdani. And they turn out to be the children of the rich. And a couple of things in Wall Street Journal, Fortune, Bloomberg, I'm trying to remember where it makes the argument that about half the people in the United States in this generation who were brought up rich fell out of the upper middle class. In other words, their parents were very wealthy. Their parents are retired. Maybe their parents don't have as much money as they plan for retirement. Maybe their parents say, I'm not going to buy you a house. I'm not going to buy you a car. I'm going to go to Europe. Whatever the reason is, their degrees and their investments in higher education did not work out. So I mentioned that before. They're editors at magazines. They're assistant stockbrokers. They're the head of the legal staff. They're well-dressed. They grew up in affluence, and they're never going to be able to buy a house. They're not going to get married. early. They're not going to have children, and they blame the system. And Mondami looks really suave and swarmy, and they like him. But that's something to, we always think the rich are rich, the rich. No, it's about 50% of people go up or down, because you can see psychologically, if you grew up and you're lower middle class and your parents worked like crazy and they couldn't, then your attitude is, I'm going to work even crazier. You know what I mean? And if you grew up really affluent, oh, I can do. So people go down and people go up. England was the birthplace of the English-speaking Enlightenment, and now they are Orwellian. And they don't have the problem yet as Germany or France, 16, 15%, but they're getting close. And the difference is that their big cities have majority populations of people from the Middle East, Islamic peoples, who feel that under the DEI apparatus, they're exempt and they're not responsible for their conduct, or they can walk around and demand people follow Sharia law. And so Farage represents the suburbs and the majority of the population that's not immigrant, which is the majority of the population. I think he's got a good chance of winning. The conservatives are discredited. They're not conservative. They're kind of like the British Conservative Party has an analogous role of what I would call major figures in the Republican Party right now in the United States. I would say they resemble a Mitt Romney, a Bill Kristol. They're the never-Trumpers, and they're ossified, calcified, and shrinking. And that's who the conservatives are. He's a populist nationalist. And I don't know if he's very skilled politically. I've met him before. Chain smoker. But I don't know if he's got it's going to be very hard for a third party to win. Maybe he can get a coalition with some members of the Conservative Party. I don't know. They allowed DEI. Boris Johnson was a disaster, I think.
If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content.